Most organizations are already using AI at work. But here's the problem. Very few actually know if they're ready for it. And that gap? Well, that's when all the risks start showing up. Welcome to the AI Beginner Podcast, where we take a practical, no-hype approach to understanding and using AI. I'm Steve, and today we're going to walk through a simple, structured checklist to help you answer one important question. Is your organization actually ready to use AI?
Listen to questions.
Today's listener question comes from Rick. He wrote, "We've started using AI tools across the team, but it feels like a mess and honestly a bit risky. How do we know if we're doing this the right way? Also, what happened to the old ending theme song? It was a bit silly, but I kind of started liking it." These are really good questions. First, I will bring back the slightly corny music at the end. As far as you're concerned about introducing AI the right way in your organization, well, you're not alone. And this is exactly where most organizations are right now. AI often gets introduced informally. One team starts using it. Another team tries something different. Leadership isn't fully aligned. And before long, you have usage, but no structure. Let's walk through this in a very simple way. AI readiness isn't about tools. It's about capability. And there are 4 areas to focus on. 1. Leadership alignment. Do leaders clearly understand where AI should be used, where it shouldn't, and what success looks like? Or is usage happening without direction? This matters more than most people think. Because if leadership isn't aligned, then every team starts making their own decisions. This leads to inconsistent usage, conflicting approaches, and unclear expectations. In strong organizations, AI isn't just allowed, it's guided. There's a shared understanding of why it's being used, where it creates value, and where caution is required. 2. Governance and guardrails. Do you have clear guidelines, acceptable use policies, defined risk boundaries? Or is everyone just figuring it out as they go? Because without guardrails, you start to see real problems. Sensitive information being shared, outputs being trusted without review, decisions being influenced without oversight. Governance doesn't mean slowing things down. It means making sure people are using AI responsibly and confidently. Even simple guardrails can make a big difference. 3. Workforce capability. Do your teams know how to use AI effectively? How to evaluate outputs? When not to trust results? Or are they just experimenting and hoping for the best? This is one of the biggest gaps right now, because giving people access to AI tools is not the same as building capability. Without basic understanding, results are inconsistent. Confidence stays low, and adoption never really matures. But when people start to understand how to use AI properly, everything changes. 4. Workflow integration. And this is the one that matters most. Is AI actually integrated into real work? Or is it just being used occasionally? Because there's a big difference between trying AI and using AI as part of a workflow. Look at your day-to-day work. Are there specific tasks where AI is used consistently, in the same way, for the same purpose, with predictable results? Or are things just scattered and random? Because real value comes from repeatability. When AI becomes part of a workflow, that's when you start to see reliable outcomes and measurable improvements, as well as actual efficiency gains. Without integration, AI just stays a tool you try instead of something you rely on. Here's what this often looks like in a real organization. AI is being used to draft emails, maybe summarize documents, maybe help with meetings, but there's no shared approach. Different teams use different tools. Nothing is documented. Leadership isn't involved. So the result? Some value, but inconsistent outcomes, and growing risk over time. Here's the shift that changes everything. AI success doesn't come from using more tools. It comes from introducing structure. Even a small amount of structure makes results more reliable, makes usage more repeatable, and reduces risk significantly. Because without structure, AI stays unpredictable. Some days it helps, other days it doesn't. One person gets great results, someone else gets something completely different, and over time, that inconsistency starts to erode confidence. People begin to question, is this actually useful? Can we rely on this? Should we even be using it for this kind of work? That's the real risk, not the technology itself, but the lack of a consistent way to use it. Now compare that to a structured approach, where a specific task is done the same way. Using AI in a consistent, repeatable pattern. Suddenly, the output becomes more predictable. The quality improves over time, and people start to trust the process, not just the tool. That's when AI begins to shift from something you experiment with to something your organization can actually depend on. And that's what readiness really looks like. Not perfect usage, not advanced tools, just a clear, repeatable way of working that others can follow. If you're in a role where you're responsible for how work gets done, and AI is starting to show up across your team, this is exactly the moment where a little structure makes a big difference. I've created a simple AI readiness assessment that helps you quickly understand where things are working, where the gaps are, and where risk might be starting to show up. You can take it in just a few minutes at aibeginner.net/start.
AI hot tip.
Here's a quick AI hot tip. Pick one task you do regularly and use AI the same way each time. Not differently, not randomly, the same way. That's how you move from experimenting to building something reliable.
Optimistic AI thought of the week.
Here's this week's optimistic AI thought of the week. You don't need to move faster with AI. You need to move with clarity. And the professionals who build that clarity now will be the ones others rely on later. If you'd like more practical resources for navigating AI in the workplace, you can find guides, tools, and the readiness assessment at aibeginner.net/start. And if you found this episode helpful, consider sharing it with a colleague who's trying to figure out how AI fits into their organization. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. And Rick, here's that silly music.
Schnitzelbeats and circuit dreams. Welcome to the show of machines. Grab your bites and join the scene. AI beginner, let's turn the screen. AI beginner, pros to you. Hey! AI beginner, let's compute.